Welcome back to Don't Be Fooled. MSNBC's Chris Hayes took a veiled swipe at the McCloskeys this week during the Republican National Convention. He says he agrees that the McCloskeys look like the Republican Party, the implication being they look foolish. The McCloskeys were defending their home and their lives against violent anarchists breaking through their gates and storming their home. Democrats and their lapdog media outlets want Americans to voluntarily choose to not defend their rights. If they can make you feel foolish, you won't defend yourself when the mob comes for your freedom. The right to peacefully live quietly in your home, the right to disagree with our leaders, the right to stand against mob violence. MSNBC wants you to feel too stupid to defend yourself against Marxists. They want to usher in communism. The easiest way for the left to accomplish this is to convince Americans not to use their rights. On the one hand, violent extremists are trying to take our freedoms by force, by burning and terrorizing our cities. On the other hand, they're using their media puppets to make you feel stupid or racist for fighting for your freedoms. Whether they strip us of our freedoms by force or whether they strip us of our freedoms by shaming us into not using it, we've lost our freedom. They are using both tactics and attack our freedom from both directions. Reading the thread of this tweet, some of Hayes' followers said that if it really were self-defense, the McCloskeys should be hiding behind closed doors. That's what a Democrat would do. Go hide. Who's going to save you? You defunded the police. The McCloskeys do look like the Republican Party, standing up to violent communists trying to steal our way of life. The rest of us must do the same. Democrats continued to spew the narrative that President Trump is trying to destroy the post office in order to prevent mail-in ballots. The House called Postmaster General Louis DeJoy to testify and spent their time yelling at him rather than asking him questions. Each member was allotted 4 or 5 minutes, but that just wasn't enough time to ask a question.
As a member of this August committee, I'm supposed to ask you a question. In my heart, I'm tempted to ask, after 240 years of patriotic service delivering the mail, how can one person screw this up in just a few weeks? Now, I understand you bring private sector expertise. I guess we couldn't find a government worker who could screw it up this fast.
Representative Lynch was only given 4 minutes, and that just wasn't enough time to ask a meaningful question. So instead, he berated, yelled at, lied to, and about the Postmaster General. He wanted to fuel the flames of the story that Republicans are trying to destroy the post office to prevent mail-in ballots. The truth is that since 2010, there has been a 16.5% decrease in mail, and the machines were not needed. Democrats are spinning this narrative to detract from the real story, which is that they want to flood the election with fake ballots. It's a scam. If Representative Lynch had allowed DeJoy to respond, DeJoy would have had time to explain that the removal of mail sorters is perfectly reasonable. So they chose not to let him talk. MSNBC played the game, promoting the House's efforts to spin the conspiracy theory that Republicans are trying to destroy the post office.
People watching might say, great, the House is doing something. They're voting on a bill. They're trying to save the Postal Service. But then the bill goes over to the Senate, where Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, I doubt he'll even bring this to the floor for a vote. And as I mentioned before, the White House has already announced a veto. So why do this?
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said he will not entertain new legislation about the post office at this point in time. It's not needed and is nothing more than a political stunt. There is no reason to legislate the post office. This is a completely fake story made up to monger fear in voters. Democrats are trying to detract from the fact they are trying to cheat with mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots are not the same as absentee ballots, which are verified and authenticated. Mail-in ballots are not authenticated. That is the problem, not the post office. Last weekend, when President Trump tweeted that the DNC omitted "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance, CNN's Jim Acosta was quick to fact-check the president and immediately told his followers the president was wrong, implying the president was lying by calling Trump's statement false. Here's the clip the president was referring to.
The chair will lead the House in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They did omit "under God." Acosta never corrected his statement and didn't remove his tweet. CNN and liberal media outlets are intentionally lying to their followers. Don't be fooled. And with that, it's time for the closing argument. We wrapped up the Republican National Convention this week with a fireworks show and speech by President Trump. In a stark contrast to Joe Biden, Donald Trump participated in the convention every night, speaking to the American people. President Trump made clear that he supports law and order in our communities. He's working to protect the integrity of our votes, and he wants to reopen the economy and help Americans rebuild their lives. Joe Biden and his fellow Democrat leaders want to completely shut down the economy. His words, not mine. Mandate masks and raise taxes while preventing us from working. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Joe Biden is not the Democrat candidate. He's the DC establishment candidate. Real American Democrats, those who chose the party based on policy, have had their party hijacked. There is no real Democrat on the ticket. Joe Biden is senile and cannot function at an average capacity, let alone run the country. He's a prop. So who are Biden's handlers? Well, there's a few, but let's talk about one. Tom Perez is the chair of the DNC. He's an attorney who served in the Obama administration as the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. In 2010, Perez led an investigation into excessive use of force by the Seattle Police Department. At the direction of Perez, Seattle was required to restructure their police department to minimize their use of force. Perez neutered Seattle's police department. He wants to do the same thing across the country. Look at Seattle today. It's chaos, and their black female police chief recently resigned because she was prevented from doing her job. This isn't about race. Perez also investigated Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Maricopa County, Arizona. For the first time in our nation's history, the federal government sued a local law enforcement agency claiming discriminatory practices and attempting to dictate local operating procedures within the sheriff's office. Make no mistake, Perez, the DNC chair, is anti-law enforcement. He aggressively attacks police departments and tries to remove the police's ability to protect its citizens. Look at what he did in Seattle. Perez and the DNC are ardently anti-law enforcement. Do you want your community to turn into Seattle? The DNC is pushing aggressively to dismantle the law enforcement across our country. Why do you think the DNC convention avoided talking about all the terrible things happening across the country? They never addressed it. Why? It's what they want. It's about power. If Americans don't have law enforcement protecting their rights, it strips power from the people. This is what I mean when I say Joe Biden is not a Democratic candidate. Real American Democrats do not want the dismantling of their communities. They don't agree with this. We must recognize this for what it is. It's about power. If these leaders can control the votes, dismantle the police, shut down our economy, what's left of our country? The DNC leaders are stripping America of its value and selling it to foreigners to pocket the profit. What do they get out of it? Power. When Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, he lanced a boil that had grown over our government and infected our politics. We're now seeing that disgusting infection heal itself. It's ugly. All the disease that had rooted in Washington is being exposed, but it's healing. America will come back from this stronger than before, healthier than before, whole. Democrats will get their party back. We'll again be able to debate policy, but not until we've reestablished that the power of the United States government lies with the American people, not a few select political elites who want to manipulate the country for selfish gain. We must fight our way to the other side of this, but that's what Americans do best. We're fighters. We fought to establish the world's freest country. We fought to free other countries, and we fought to defend freedom across the world. Tyranny and socialism have no place in this country. So, we fight. I'd love to hear your thoughts on current events. If you have questions you'd like me to ask the panel, please send your comments and questions to weeklybriefing@oann.com. Remember to watch Weekly Briefing every Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching.